So you're at the Portland Linux Unix group meeting, monthly meeting. We have speakers every month. We're going to come back to that.
One way or the other?
Yeah. We've been doing this for a long, long time. Who's never been to a plug meeting before? Awesome. Where did you hear about it?
Oh, I heard from this guy.
Yeah.
And I kind of been finding meetups to go to. And,
Oh, cool.
Yeah, kind
Awesome.
of drag him along.
Excellent.
Our
Awesome.
advertisements are working.
Why are you being punished in this way?
It's not bad thing.
Okay, plug. We've been around for like, I don't know how old we are, 32 or something.
Long time.
Yeah, so, and I'm the accidental coordinator now because somebody else decided they didn't want to do it anymore. Speakers. Item number 1, speakers. We need speakers every month. We need a speaker. We did not have a speaker this month. I had somebody kind of on the line, and he ate the bait and ran away. And so he's not here. He did not reply to my last 2 emails. So we have no speaker. Well, we do. We have a speaker who's volunteered himself tonight. We had a person who kind of offered to speak, but was kind of a little vague on what they were going to speak about. So I thought, well, I'll do this because I've been working on this the last few weeks. It's kind of fresh. But we need speakers. Now, every month I talk to you people and I tell you, help me find speakers because I'm like running out of people who I can find to speak, and I need you people. Now, I've been married a long time. My spouse, Heidi, tells this story about when she was in 4th grade. One day, a man walks into the classroom and said to the class, he says, I'm your teacher's husband. He said, every night my wife comes home crying. Okay, so I come home from plug every week or every month crying because you guys have not have come up with a speaker. So unless you want Heidi to come in and give you talking to next month, you need to start coming across. Yes?
That sounds like a good idea. That's what I was.
Yeah.
Library sign.
Yeah. Anyway, I'm counting on you guys. You saw did you see the thing at the end of the announcement? I said something about how my speaking represents the failure of the entire community. So anyway, we need speakers. Think about what you might want to talk about, or think about somebody who's doing something interesting that you want to hear about, and go grab them by the lapel and shake them gently, and maybe slap them a few times and then say, hey, come. We would love to hear from you.
Do you have someone for next month?
I do not have someone for next month.
So
Yes?
Where would you, let's say you do have a topic
Yeah.
that you'd like to talk about, how would you go about
Ooh.
submitting that idea?
That's an excellent question.
I think you just volunteered.
I post announcements on the plug mailing list, which you can get to from our website. And you can look at our archives and you can see my email, and you can email me.
Or just grab them after the meeting.
Or you can, it's pretty easy to remember. Our website is pdxlinux.org. You can just put Russell with 2 L's, very important, 2 L's, at pdxlug.org, and I will get that email. And if you don't hear from me, check the email and dial again.
if we don't have anyone more interesting for next month, I've been doing a lot of stuff with Meson lately.
Okay.
Meson build system.
Oh, no.
And I could do an intro to Meson type
Like
thing.
MESON?
Yes,
Yeah.
like the new version of Auto Tools or CMake or whatever,
Yeah.
and it's popping up in a lot of projects.
Right.
So if anyone's interested in that, I can give just a walkthrough of my adventures with that.
Okay, cool.
But we'll put that out there.
I will, you're noted.
Sweet.
But then there's a whole cavalcade after that, so don't take this as just like, oh, I'm off the hook now. There are these months that just keep coming. Next announcement is we have a clinic every month. It's like a Linux repair clinic where people can come and bring their problems, and we'll try to solve the problems. Or the joke always has been, we'll give you a different problem to go home with. Or maybe the same problem, because there's no guarantees. You're entitled to, if we fail to solve your problem, you're entitled to a full refund.
Or to come back the next month.
Now, last month, we did something else. We've been going to this bar afterwards down First and Yam Hill called Patty's. But we had a revolt last month, and we went to
We had a
Lucky
holiday.
Labs. What's
Well,
that?
it was a holiday and a bunch of stuff going on, so we figured.
It was Rose Festival, yeah, and we were afraid that it was gonna be full. But anyway, Lucky Lab kind of worked out okay. It's a little bit further, but if you need a ride, hang out, and somebody will give you a ride to the event. Yeah, everybody knows where the Lucky Lab in Southeast is. Is it cheaper? I don't know. They make
Proper
their own,
pints.
so it's artisanal beer. Yeah, on Hawthorne, it's like 9th and Southeast Hawthorne. Okay, so then this is the point where I tell people to introduce themselves. So I'm going to introduce myself. I don't remember what the hell I said.
Hey, Russell, real quick
Yeah.
before you get started,
Yeah.
just so you know, when you're standing at the computer, you're off screen.
Okay.
If you're standing underneath the plug, like where you are now, you're on screen. Just
Where's
FYI.
the?
It's about
Right
half a
about
foot
there.
right of the
Right
G,
about there.
basically.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Don't go past.
So I am
Branch.
going to have to go over here for some
Yeah, just, but
substantial
when
part.
you're talking,
Yeah, yeah,
sure,
yeah.
go further over and you'll be fine.
Unless you prefer that.
Yeah, exactly.
And if you want to hide, you can hide, that's fine.
The speaker.
So I am going to talk tonight about these Realtek-based routers, managed switches, and running OpenWrt on them. And there's a whole passel of them, but just to kind of motivate the whole thing, I am the president of a nonprofit called the Personal Telco Project, whose website you can see here amongst my various entanglements. And it's been around since the year 2000. It actually spun off of Plug a long time ago. There's a guy named Adam Shand. He saw a project on a thing called Slashdot. I don't know if anybody's ever heard of Slashdot before. About some project in the UK, and it happened that right at that moment in 2000, the dot-com bubble had popped, and all of a sudden a bunch of nerds were at home, and they did not have their normal blazingly fast T1 at work, and they were suddenly at home with no internet, or with really crappy, more crappy than normal internet. And Adam saw this thing on the interwebs about this project in the UK, and they were building what we would call today a mesh network with Wi-Fi technology, which at that time was pretty much brand new. And you could go to Best Buy or whatever the retail outlet at the time was, and buy a router and bring it home and do Wi-Fi things. Back in those days, you had a PCMCIA card to make your laptop do the Wi-Fi thing because it did not come built in. So this organization got started, and we had grand designs. I say we, but I was not involved yet. I didn't come along till about 2005. Back in those days, the idea was we were going to try to build alternative infrastructure with Wi-Fi because the ISPs were horrible. Turns out ISPs are still horrible. But the thing we found out, or my predecessors found out very rapidly, was that this alternative infrastructure in Portland was not going to work because we have short houses and tall trees. Who's heard of Personal Telco Project, by the way? Who has not heard of Personal Telco Project? Okay, so I'll keep talking. So we thought we were gonna build alternative infrastructure. There was a whole documented drawing with the plan, and the plan was to build kind of neighborhood centered, highly, or like vertically elevated antennas, and those are gonna be able to talk to neighboring neighborhoods, and then everybody in the neighborhood would be able to talk to this sort of relay point, and we could build a mesh across the whole city. Well, it turns out Wi-Fi doesn't really like going through trees, and basically everybody's house is so short compared to the trees around it that if you climb, even if you climb up on your roof and look around, you see about 5% of the horizon, and the 5% of the horizon isn't pointed at the other weirdo in town that wants to talk to you also. So it turns out we kind of pivoted to a completely different model, and we're doing, basically we build hotspots and we build public access Wi-Fi networks, but we also advocate for better telecommunication policy, and there's a whole other talk there.
You were looking for speakers.
Before, yeah, before I leave this subject, and this is relevant, I would point out that we have a core group of volunteers. If this is a thing, playing with Wi-Fi routers and stuff, and thinking about telecommunication policy sounds interesting at all, we're actively, we're always actively accepting volunteers, but we never actually, this is like the first time a decade we've asked for anybody to actually show up. People sometimes like wander through the door, and we try to indoctrinate them, and sometimes they come back, and sometimes they get a job and move away. But anyway, if anybody's interested in playing with this stuff, we're a welcoming group of nerds similar to Plug. Okay, so I'm not going to talk about that so much anymore, but the thing that creates a nexus here is that most of what I do with the Personal Telco Project is hacking on routers, and we have a sort of a custom firmware build, if you want to call it, a set of packages and configurations. And a lot of what I do is I just, every so often I got an idle moment, I'll check out the latest OpenWrt master branch and build it with the stuff and flash it on a whole bunch of routers I have in my basement of different varieties, and make sure it kind of still works. And if I encounter bugs or whatever, then I work with the OpenWrt people. Yes?
What's built on top of OpenWrt that allows for this? Because I'm assuming presumably this is like mesh or anything like that?
No, this is what this?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, it's not, we don't really do mesh.
Okay.
We do, there's a few networks that have a mesh associated with them.
Okay.
In fact, I think we build, you get to see my temperature sensors as well. That's not predominantly what we're doing. The basic build is there's a captive portal, there's a bunch of management tools, TCP dump, and there's, boy, should I even go into this? OpenWrt is cool in a bunch of ways. One of the ways, I don't know if I should say this now, I'll come back to this. Anyway, it does a bunch of stuff for us, and the cool thing is it's a Swiss Army knife. If you need something, you just go look in the gigantic pile of packages, and you do make menu config, or you just cat the config thing into your .config, and you go make, and with a J and a bunch of numbers, and you wait until it finishes, and hopefully it didn't error out, and now you have a build and you can test it. So one of the things that we encountered occasionally is that, so we build these public access Wi-Fi networks. Almost all of them are different in some way or another. There are particular needs the host has. The model for Personal Telco is we find a host, the host provides the internet connection, and then we build a network that integrates with their existing network/internet connection, and we kind of make it work for them. And there's a bunch of ways we separate the public traffic from their network, et cetera, et cetera. One of those ways is that occasionally he wants, the host, which, you know, it should not be gendered here, they want to, like, say, for example, it's at a restaurant or something, and
Or like the Lucky Lab.
the Lucky Lab is another example. But the Lucky Lab is not an example of what I'm about to
Oh,
talk about.
sorry.
They want to have their private network parallel to the public network on the same Wi-Fi routers. So in order to do that, you need to have, typically, you put a VLAN to the router, and then you have separate Wi-Fi networks that are operating on the same Wi-Fi radio, which is not a problem, presumably you got well-supported Wi-Fi radios. You just say, hey, I want another interface here, and attach that interface to a different bridge, and that bridge is the private network, and that means the Ethernet cable that goes to that device needs to run a VLAN on that thing, on that wire, the Ethernet cable, so that you can separate the public network from the private network. So it turns out you can do that if you got a singleton AP, no problem, you just build that right onto the AP, the gateway router effectively. But sometimes you got a bunch of access points that are hanging off the gateway, and for that you might want to have a switch. So let me, well, I can hand wave some of these around. So this is this particular one is an EnGenius, and that's probably what I'm going to talk about most tonight. It runs a Realtek system on chip, SoC. It has some SFP ports if you need to run fiber to them. Those work. Anyway, these appeared, I don't know, well, let's see, 2022-ish or earlier. They were showing up all over the place. Somebody figured out how to get OpenWrt on it. Once you have OpenWrt on a particular kind of architecture's chip line, it's kind of easy to extend support for other devices. So these had been on the market for a little while, and somebody figured out how, I don't even know who it was, but there's a whole community that says, oh my God, I can run OpenWrt, or they're already running Linux, but they can run OpenWrt. You're not stuck on vendor capture land with their silly cloud management stuff. And now you've got a switch and you can do a bunch of stuff with it. So that's one of the reasons you might want one of these. But the other reason is that these have PoE. So you can power your PoE devices off of one of these switches. Very recently, the Lucky Lab that you might very well accompany us to this evening, they had a bunch of, they had 2 access points there, both of which could have run off PoE, but weren't. One of them was with an injector, I think.
Yeah.
And then, in fact, we discovered this all last month, I think, when we went, and the whole network was broken. And we scratched our head and couldn't figure out what was quite going wrong. So anyway, we ended up, sometime in the middle of July, we went back and we installed one of these actually, which is, so these are EnGenius devices. This is a Zyxel GS1900, and there's a bunch of different ones of this that all basically have the same SoC inside. They vary a little bit by the other stuff going on. This is another Zyxel GS1900, but it's a 24 port. Whatever the hell that means, it does not have PoE. I've got one of these in my basement, a lot of what I call the wall of routers. And my test bed is hanging off of one of those. And again, you can configure the ports to be on separate networks, you can put VLANs on them, a bunch of kind of useful things. It turned out this is just a side note, we were having trouble with our gateway router talking to one of the access points. And when it was talking to that access point, the Ethernet cabling that was installed 20 years ago, probably Cat5, maybe, hopefully, is a long run, and we would get gigabit, and then we would not get gigabit, and it would be like 100 megabit, and it would flap a lot. And occasionally, the auto configuration stuff would get sideways, and it'd just say, I'm done, you're messing with me, I don't like this, I'm gonna just stop talking to you. So we would lose contact with one of these things, and the annoying part is that the access points there were sharing a common SSID, which meant that now one of them, which your device randomly happened to want to talk to, was not actually connected to the network anymore. It was still beaconing our SSID, but it was not getting you to the internet. And you would be sitting there, why is this? I'm connected. I can see it's connected. I got bars. Where's my internets? Anyway, so this was kind of problematic. We've asked the proprietor of the place to do another run for us, but he hasn't quite done that yet. But what we ended up doing is we took one of these Zyxel 10-port-y things and plugged that in, and then plugged another access point in. All of them now are on PoE, and that's been like rock solid. We don't necessarily get gigabit on that link, but when it decides that it wants to talk 100 megabit, it just flips to that and stays there and doesn't flap anymore, and we've had really excellent uptimes. So anyway, that got me all excited about that. The other kind of cool thing, well, let's see. So I'm going to, I'll talk a little bit more about this. We installed the thing. We have control over the PoE ports, which was great, because if we had a problem that we needed to reboot, we can log into the switch, which is right next to the gateway, and say, hey, I want you to power cycle that thing. You can drop power to that port and then turn the port back on again, and that'll power cycle and hopefully clear whatever the hell was going wrong with it. And that was really happy, joy, joy. And the thing a month ago was that the interface for doing that was something, a user space tool called Realtek-PoE that somebody had developed by reverse engineering the protocol that the vendor firmware was using to talk to the chip that controls power to the ports. And that was great, except OpenWrt has this knee-jerk feeling that they need to upstream all their software, which is a good knee-jerk feeling to have. That means to get support into the basic Linux firmament, and so they don't have to worry about it anymore. They'll get support for this PoE control stuff. It's called PSE-PD, I think. It turns out that a number of years ago, maybe 2022, somebody had actually started an implementation of this in the Linux kernel. So there was a kernel architecture for this facility, but there were no drivers for the hardware that we had. And so these group of people had gone and reverse engineered the protocol. In fact, we might, if I can find it again, I will find the page where it's all documented. But there was this user space daemon that was Realtek-PoE. You talk to it over a thing called UBus, which is sort of the OpenWrt equivalent of dbus, and you sent a call and you said, U-bus call PoE info, and it would send out a message, collect data about what the state of the power supply chip was, and then give you information about it, and then you could send it another call, and you could disable and re-enable the thing. So that was deployed at Lucky Lab, but sometime 2-ish weeks ago, like 18th, 17th of July or something, it was announced that some of these devices that were doing PoE suddenly had this kernel driver that somebody had written. Jonas, something or other, last name starts with a J also. And one of these devices suddenly had this kernel driver. I thought, oh, well, that's cool, I want that. So I rebuilt the firmware with this thing. I made it sure it worked in my little test bed, and I flashed it in the 2 places we were using that, which was the Lucky Lab and also Goose Hollow Inn, and usually in the middle of the night, and praying that everything was going to come up again, because I was planning on sleeping in until 11, 12. And I knew when they got there, and all the early coffee drinker people would say, hey, your internet's broken, and why is it broken? And they would be annoyed, and I would, anyway, cause problems. I'd have to drive over there. But that all worked. So the only other place we had these installed was at another network in Northwest Portland. And it turns out they did not have these Zyxel GS 1900 10 HP devices, which is, we'll use our fancy camera thing. Is that gonna focus? Oh yeah,
Nice.
there you go. So those are what we have at Goose Hollow and the other place.
It's just SFP, just SFP for the,
There's SFP over here.
Yeah.
These are regular RJ45s.
it's all 1 gig though.
Yes, these are all 1 gig. One of the things I was gonna show you was the list of the switches that are supported, and you can find that by looking in the OpenWrt source tree. There's a directory called, oh Jesus, let's see, what do I do now? Woohoo, okay, screen. I will make, oh, let me switch back. I will make this bigger. Oops. Where'd I go? Hang on, one more time. No, that's not it either. Where was I? I've got lots of tabs. Hold them down. I just connected to something. Not there. Oh, there we go. Okay. Control. Wait, there we go. Okay. Let me make this bigger. Where there should be something that keeps it on the top. Target, Linux, Realtek, DTS. Oops, not less. Push it. Splat.dts. So who knows what a device tree is?
I wish I didn't.
So, yeah, OpenWrt is mostly switched to device tree, which is great. Which basically, just for people who don't know, the device tree was developed for the case where there were devices that were present that weren't like a PC, always in the same place, or they weren't on discoverable buses, where you could just probe the bus and ask what device is here? Oh, it's this thing, and now I'm gonna load a driver for it. In order to keep from having to do like custom kernels for every device, they have this thing called a device tree, and the device tree basically tells it where all the parts live, and then it can, kernel can load the right modules or whatever for the device. So when you see DTS, that means it's for a specific device, or at least a small family of devices that all behave in exactly the same way. There are these things called DTISI files, which are basically include files, they're common things that get included. So these represent all the devices that are supported. And here's this EWS 2910, which is the three devices down on the end. There's, oh boy, Zyxel, oops, let me scroll down a little bit. Oh, 10 HP, okay. Yeah, so 10 HP are these things. This is a, it says Rev B1 on the back, and that's gonna be relevant a little later. There was a first gen thing, and they ended up using different chips, and so they gave it a different sort of version.
So where are the 24 port devices?
There should be one on there.
24G
Two.
PoE at the bottom.
Oh, yeah, it might be using a different SoC. So these are organized by the 8380.
Oh, okay, all right.
So there's gonna be more.
Yeah, I know, my switch is running this, so
Yeah.
I know it works.
There they are. There's a 24E, which is what that thing is. The HP, we see HP for the Zyxels, that just means it has PoE. Yeah.
Oh, is it? Okay, all right. That
If it
means-
says HP, that means, that my
So
experience.
E is non-PoE.
I believe so, yes.
Okay.
That, I know that one is an E and it does not have
All
PoE. And that uses a, 8382, whatever the hell that is. And then, let's keep going down here at the bottom. Then we get to these 93 things. Oh my God, what's that? Well, it turns out those have support for like 10 gig interfaces. They're also not cheap. Person I'm working with right now has applied for a grant to get some things, and we thought, oh, well, grant, money, we'll buy good stuff. But we looked at what was available. I think we asked for one of those, and they're like not quite $1,000 each.
What?
And there's like 12 ports, but there's like 8 RJ45s, and then I think 4 SFP plus 10 gig capable SFP slots. We also looked at this plasma cloud thing, which is a German company, I guess. Those were also about $1,000. For comparison, this is the 1900 10 HP on Amazon. They're like $130. I bought a couple used on eBay recently for about $80 each, I think. And then these, turns out these two, I think, well, at least something like these two, I got in eBay for parts of repair, and they were like under $30 each. However, the parts and repair was, it did not come with the power supply. They otherwise worked fine. If you go look on eBay to buy the power supply, it's like $40. I think you can find them for less than that, but they need to be 48 or 54 volts in order to do the PoE effectively. So anyway, there's a whole swath of these things. The first one I got was not a Zyxel, it was some Netgear 8-port thing, which I'm sure is up here somewhere.
Oh, that 108.
I think it was this 308T thing.
Yeah.
It was an 8-port thing. Anyway, it works. I haven't actually used that one in a while, but
does that mean, like, if you, cause I have both the 108 and the 308, if I were to flash it, with this,
So
does it make it a manage?
the letter is important,
Is
so
it? Okay.
pay attention to that.
Yeah.
Yeah, because there's some unmanaged switches, I think they call 308 also.
Some of them are like smart, kind of, you have to use their interface
Yes.
just to manage them.
Right.
Okay.
Or they might be, if they claim to be a managed switch, it's very likely they have a Realtek SoC, and they're either supported or they're, with some work, could probably be supported.
Okay.
If they're an unmanaged switch, then there's like a super, simple, dumbed down, incapable of running Linux, soft firmware running on it. And in those cases, you wouldn't be able to do this. Let's see. Oh, boy, time is flying. There's,
So what's the jailbreak process look like for these?
so
special
it
equipment?
turns out that most of the time, it's not a problem. You just pop the thing open, you find the serial header, and you get access to the serial console. And you might have noticed, I have this headphone jack here. Turns out stereo headphone jacks have 3 pins, wires, or conductors, and that's exactly what you need for a serial console. So it's you can buy these things from FTDI for about $27 currently, or $28
Is there a
plus
pin
shipping.
header on the board, or do you have to rework
There's a
it?
pin header, or
Sometimes there's no
sometimes
pads.
there's just solder holes that got filled in. So some solder intervention is sometimes required, not always. A lot of times the pin headers will be there already, especially on the early models. As they, churn out new revisions, they say, we don't need that anymore. We did all our development stuff. We don't need to put it on there. So I bought a thing from, so FTDI makes these nice USB to serial converters, but they're kind of spendy. I mean, they're like $20, or now with the cord with the headphone jack, and they're like $28. And I just have so many of them, and I'm too much of a cheapskate. I don't want to spend that much. For a long, long time, I was buying these PL20, whatever, they're 2303 things, and you could get them from China for like $1 or $2 or maybe $3.
Depends on whether you want the counterfeit version or one that actually works.
If it works, I don't care, as long as it's cheap. And again, I've got like this test bed, and I've got like 20 devices that I want to have a serial console on all the time, and so I was into volume. I do have some of the FTDI things, yes?
Yeah, I was just point out though, I don't recall doing this with the Zyxel 24 port. I think I was able to just
Yeah.
download
So-
an image onto it through the
This is a-
Zyxel
there's
interface,
a,
and boom,
I
I
mean,
was
just-
off to the races.
Can you SSH?
Yeah. But not necessarily, well, probably would not with a vendor firmware. So there's a philosophy here. The unwashed masses, once the thing is supported by OpenWrt, you can probably put OpenWrt on it, what I would call blind, and it'll just boot back up in OpenWrt, and away, and then you're off to the races.
I should point out, I was happy to do this because I knew Russell
Yeah.
could bail me out.
So, the first devices I ever worked on with OpenWrt, it was impossible to install anything on without a serial console. So I just immediately went to the serial console, and I've had them. That's my go-to, because then you're not doing it blind, and if something goes wrong, you can fix it, and you can see what the hell is happening, which is very comforting. When you do a thing, you go, oh my God, please come back up.
Please work.
Yes, or, you buy a new one or whatever. That's an uncomfortable feeling, and I don't like that. So on these things in particular, they're super easy to open. I'm gonna unplug this. And I will nip out, there's 2 screws. In fact,
Is the serial port you're talking about different than the like management serial interface if these have them?
So there are different kinds of serial ports. There's the like Cisco RJ45, that's regular like PC serial voltages, the minus whatever 5 to 15 plus 5 to 15. Well, whatever the hell they
Depends
are.
what year it is.
Yeah, you need at least minus 5 plus 5, I think, to make any of them work. Then there's what's commonly called, perhaps erroneously, TTL level serial, and that's usually on almost all of these devices is 3.3 volts. Some super newer Army-based stuff might be 1 point something, but almost everything I've touched in the last 20 years has been 3.3 volts. Yes.
Well, it's just gonna, FTDI also makes.
Yeah, and you
part-
can get 'em in
if you-
different
If you have
voltages.
4 connections, you can get the supply voltage of the device you're running on, and the FTDI part will adapt, or the IO
So
pin,
you
set the
can't
IO
actually see
voltage to
that.
whatever is appropriate.
There's a little hole I just took a screw out of. Little tiny, well, you can barely see it. And there's 2 of those screws. And then you'll see my little mod inside.
Do these have like a normal management serial console, or is
These
it all
don't.
online?
Depending on the device, depending on kind of the market they're aiming at, there might be an external console connector. There might be, like, for example, there was a device I've used, it's called a Firebox M300, and those have an RJ45 style Cisco pin-out serial connection. Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, this is kind of raining on the parade.
Yes?
But I feel like, I mean, like, these sound great for like $30 or whatever, but I guess I'm trying to understand the, like the $1,000 ones. It sounds like a MikroTik switches, you know, they're like 10 GB ones are like $600-ish,
Yeah.
if I remember correctly, and like they, you know, they have the serial and
I will
everything.
admit
Yeah.
to have a burning hatred of MikroTik, but
You have a what?
a burning hatred.
Oh, okay, fair.
For arbitrary personal reasons. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with them
Yeah.
exactly, just that I don't like
Yeah.
the way they do things. And I want to run my software, which is OpenWrt on it. MikroTik makes that difficult. They'll
Yeah.
say, oh, we support it. You can run it in this like VM thing on their
Right.
operating system. I don't want that.
Yeah, fair.
So, but that's, that's my peculiar worldview. Okay, so what I did, you can see little wires here. I just drilled a hole in the side of the metal case, put in a little headphone jack, and then I've got Kynar wire, or whatever the hell it's called, 30 gauge wire wrap wire. And in fact, I have a wire wrap tool, and I just wrapped them around the pins.
Is there even labels?
But yeah, in this case, ground, receive, transmit, and then VCC basically, which you never connect to. There's basically no reason to ever connect to that. Sometimes it's the wrong voltage, so you don't want to connect that. One thing, I'll just as an aside, this yellow wire here, somehow in my box, I've got stranded. I didn't even know if that was a thing, but apparently it does not wire wrap the way I want it to when it's
Yeah,
stranded.
not designed for that.
No, but I probably got it all bunched up on there. It works. Let's see, so there's a version number on there. Oh my God, which one is this? Oh no, this is EnGenius. Okay, that makes sense then. So here's the SoC right here under big heat sink. The flash that stores the firmware is on that little chip there. It's a 32 megabyte SPI-NOR flash. There's a bunch of other chips on there which I've just basically ignored. This one,
32 megabytes?
yeah,
Megabit.
Wow.
megabytes. Yeah, turns out, well, there's some controversy there, but we'll come back to it. This thing right over here, this is the,
Serial
oops, sorry.
Went into
If I
latch
just
a
point it.
counterfeit chip.
Excuse me, sir.
Yeah.
Just one step back to the serial.
Yes?
Typically,
Yeah, I
what
had
port
two of them. They both
does that run at what
flaked
speed?
out.
So that can vary also. Typically, almost most things these days is 115, 200. But occasionally you'll see other things like 57.6 or 19.200. But by and large, everything's kind of switched to 115.
And we're not bothered
Okay.
with RTS, CTS, that stuff.
No,
No.
and the chips are all fast enough, you don't lose any bytes. So it's not a thing that anybody in my world cares a lot about. It works all the time.
So on the
Yeah.
OpenWrt page for the product, it will usually tell you what the default is on there.
Oh,
Some
on the
of them-
speed, yeah.
Some of the Wi-Fi ones are slower, but.
Yeah, there's a whole batch of them, and I've forgotten now who the hell makes them, but they're all 57s. Oh, was the Realtek, though, like the Asia, the things that are on the Asia RF things.
The stuff from Asia RF
Yeah.
is running 57.6.
Right. So now now we're gonna lurch slightly off the subject of OpenWrt and start talking about the PoE stuff going on. So here's your Mr. SoC, and this chip, God, why can't I see? Oh, right there, that chip right there. You look up the thing, it says, oh, it's an LED driver. Well, when you got a switch and there's a bunch of LED ports or things on the front, they need something to drive all those LEDs. That's what that chip is basically there for. This thing is a microcontroller, like a
Is that the
standard
STM?
This one is an STM. I don't know if I can see it.
Looks like I see to me.
There's not enough light. This is shitty light. Turns out there's a bunch of different ones that are used, but I think this one is an STM32 F100. That's what the SoC talks to the PoE stuff, and I'm about to talk about that. The way the SoC controls the power on the ports and to figure out what the status is and how much current's flowing, what the voltages are on all the different ports, it talks to these chips that are called PSE chips, and those are that one and that one. And this is a version 1 board, and they're made by Broadcom, which apparently was the vendor that was available at the time this first gen device was made. However, it would seem, and I don't have any inside information, but it would seem that those chips were relatively, possibly because of whatever monopoly power they had at the moment, relatively expensive, and so there was a motive to come up with an alternative to those chips.
Well, also Realtek and Broadcom are direct competitors.
Yes. So it turns out ultimately, in later versions, they moved to a Realtek version of these PSE chips. And there's these tiny little pins there, and that's all the current is flowing through those things to the powered device. That's always kind of confused me that they can get away with such tiny little pins.
There's a big fat pad on the bottom.
But it's each one of those, so it turns out on this one, there are 2 of these PSE chips. Each one's driving 4 ports. So it can't be just the big fat pad on the bottom.
Those caps below it, those are pretty fat.
Those are, yeah.
Where are they going?
Well, I don't know, under the board and through the board to this is the magnetics for the Ethernet ports that are coming out the front. You can see the 2, those are the data lines almost certainly. And then there's, so there's 8 of those ports, and then of course there's more over here for the SFP. So the way this works is the SoC talks to the microcontroller, and the microcontroller then talks to the PSE. Why they did it this way, you cannot explain to me. And
So they could
be
change their
convincing.
chips.
You would think, maybe. You would think, oh, it's a nice abstraction layer. You can just have this thing talk the same protocol to that thing, And then that can talk to those things. And you can hide everything. You can change these out all you want. You have this nice microcontroller, you write some new firmware, it's talking the same language on this side, then that, no. Everyone, the combination of this and that are like different. There's a Gen 1 and a Gen 2, as people outside, the reverse engineers have come up with. They're very similar. There's a 12-byte packet. In fact, I may be able to show you some later. And it basically says, here's an opcode, here's a message number, 1 byte each, and then there's like 9 bytes of payload and a checksum. And with that, you can do a bunch of stuff like deduce current that's flowing and the status of the chip. You can set different modes and so forth. So anyway, that's what the inside of one of these looks like. And maybe I'll leave this open for the time being. Now I'm gonna demo something.
Have you taken the board out?
Yes, I have.
Is there
Well,
stuff on the back?
not very much. There are a few chips on there. I think I think these are opto-isolators.
Yeah.
On another board I looked at, they were further over here. Anyway, not so important. This one I think came with a nice pin headers on it. I didn't have to solder those.
What are those ones for?
Well, it turns out that the upper row, this row of 4, those are for single wire debug for the microcontroller, so they can flash new firmware on those. These are basically tapped into the serial conversation between the SoC and the microcontroller. So they're an excellent place to sniff if you want to watch the protocol going back and forth. The other thing, by the way, between Gen 1 and Gen 2 is that they changed the baud rate. It started out in 19.2, and then they said, that's slow, why are we doing that? We're going to do 115 now. Again, they could hide all of this behind different firmware in this, and then you wouldn't have to do anything different on the SoC. But apparently, this microcontroller is, the deduction is that it's really just there to convert serial into I2C, which is what's the communication of this is, which seems like kind of a dumb thing, because the SoC probably has I2C on it already on some pins.
They make it so they could just add that.
I don't know what the thinking was.
Understands that, why would you have
Well,
this extra infrastructure?
$500 upcharge.
I bet Realtek's
Yeah.
SDK
Yeah,
had this,
yeah.
and everyone
Everybody just copied it.
Yeah.
Let's see, what was I gonna do? Oh, so I wanna show you what the serial console on this. Somebody asked about rooting, or what would you call it? There was a word you used.
Jailbreaking.
Jailbreaking, right. So it turns out, this particular EnGenius thing has a secret. Let me see, where's I took the lid off. I've got a cord. This one. I'll plug this in here. Now this is very important. This barrel connector is a 5.5 by 2.1 millimeter barrel connector. This is extremely similar to many other barrel connectors you might find around your desk. But this one has 54 volts on it and not 12 volts. So you always want to check to make sure you're plugging in the right thing.
Lick it first.
Yeah. Let me get my serial console.
I feel like that's why PoE, just everything should be PoE.
Okay, here we go.
So everything's 54 volts?
No, everything's PoE. And
Okay,
then,
this
if
is the right
everything in
thing.
your house is PoE, and then one switch is the PoE switch, then you can't go wrong.
There we go.
Unless you're doing passive.
Unless you're doing those stupid ubiquity passive PoE, yes.
So let's see, I'm gonna do this one more time. Can people see the bottom? Because that's where unfortunately everything's gonna show up.
Yes.
Okay, now I need to get ready. It turns out, somebody figured this out and it was not me.
enter correct key to step auto boot.
So it's not just one key. Normally U-boots, usually, these things are mostly not protected in any way. If you get the thing open and you find the serial console, it's usually will drop you straight to a root shell on almost everything.
Everything except D.
Things have been like more and more maybe locked down as time's gone on, but, you know, it's still relatively open. They figure, you know, if they lock this chip right, oh, you can't see it. Hang on, let me go back to doc cam. That's the flash chip. That has 16 legs. Only 8 of them are used. It's a standard SPI interface. You can put little micro grabbers on those and you can read the whole flash chip. I mean, why are you trying to lock this down? This is silly. It's, all of your stuff is on that chip and it's easy to get to and it's easy to rewrite, and if you really want to, you screwed something way up, you can just desolder that and you put another one on with all of your bits. So it's kind of pointless to try to protect. It's true that the vendor's U-boot is wired for their board and now everything's pinned out. So there is a little hurdle there, but it turns out somebody figured out by probably decompiling U-boot what it was looking for. And it turns out on this line of router or switches, you type 3 letters in any order, but only through those 3 letters and nothing else. And the letters are, as you might have seen a moment ago, is A, C, and P, or CAP, or PSA, or whatever, or whatever the letters were.
What's the algorithm there to, like, that you can screw it around the
They're just
sequence?
saying, hey, you've typed a wrong letter. So you can't just mash the keyboard because you
Yeah.
type something wrong.
Yeah, but like, how does it, whatever.
I don't know, they just
One of
decided,
those
I don't know,
One of those three, which
it's
is-
somebody's
yeah.
girlfriend's initials or something, I don't know.
Just
Uh,
bring booleans or whatever, and then all true.
which was the recall
Yeah.
code.
Yes,
and,
exactly, purity of essence, yeah.
I feel like, just doing like a.
So it turns out, hey, we've got a U-boot
Like a- or
console.
like checking against, like,
So the
TCP
typical thing I do
or
when I first see this, first of all, the first thing I do is I turn on logging. In fact, I'll do that right now. So I use Screen to talk to the serial ports. Other people use different things. I'm not religious, I'm used to Screen. It's simple, you don't have to configure anything, it just works pretty much. You have to give it the device, the console device and the TTY and the baud rate, and then it just works. Some people use the thing called TIO. I like Screen because you can just stack up different serial ports and then just switch between them, which I've actually done. Like this is the serial console on the router, which is giving me internet and also wired Ethernet ports, which is out of scope for this talk. And I don't know if I can't, okay, this is annoying. Anyway, there's a bunch of commands here. You can see all of that, but unfortunately, there's more. This is the kind of the standard U-boot set of commands. There's a bunch of stuff that you don't care about. Help is useful, which is what we're looking at. Ping is maybe, I never used that. Print env, super important. Print sys is also important. On these Realtek things, there's this function, this thing called RTK, and that does a bunch of kind of SoC specific things like turning on Ethernet. There's save environment, save sys, set environment, set sys. These are basically 2 environments that are basically the same kind of thing, they're just stored in different places on the flash. There might be even a thing, boy, it scrolled up, hang on, let me see if I can spot this. Oh, FL info, let me try that.
Where's your scroll buffer?
Well, that's one
mine.
thing about, oops, that's not it.
For a screen, just set the scroll buffer to a local file, and then you have infinite scroll buffer.
Okay, I don't remember how to do it. There's, in U-boot, there's some notion of, maybe it's SF. Anyway, there's some notion of a partition table. The other thing about embedded stuff is there's, you know, we're used to partition tables getting stored on the block device, and you just plug the thing in, and when it's loaded, it like reads the partition table, and then you know how the disk is partitioned. In embedded Linux things, the partition table is either off, well, these days in the device tree, but it's embedded in the kernel somehow, and it just knows where things are, which makes the whole operation sensitive to, you know, you can't just put things in arbitrary places. Something expects it to be in a certain place, and you bloody well better go grab it from that place. Let's see, is there anything else to do here? Let's see.
Is the sys stuff, is that specific to switches, or is that something that's popped up lately?
Wait a minute, say it again, which one?
The sys, there's the
Yeah.
regular printy and
Yeah.
then you've got this sys
Well,
thing.
let's
Is that something that's new to U-boot, or?
let's just look, print sys. So I think it's stuff that's like more device specific, like you get the serial number in there. Weirdly, you don't get the MAC address in there. MAC address actually lives in the print environment place. It says, and this is, I don't know where the hell they even get this, because it must have to do with
It looks
something
like
stashing
they
it
can
when it
flip,
flashed.
They can flip between.
So
firmware
as these
versions.
come from the vendor, they're a dual boot kind of thing.
Yeah.
And there's a mechanism for switching back and forth. It turns out that's kind of a mystery, because when I tried changing these values and reboot, my changes disappear even though they're still on flash. It's like, I'm just ignoring what you saved. And yet somehow the vendor software figures out that it's something changed. So typically in OpenWrt land, you're always just gonna boot from partition 0.
Can you do a print env also?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, so those are the three things I typically do when I open up one of these things. And we've scrolled some of this off the screen, but not probably very much. Let me try. Oh, yeah, that's more than necessary. Well, so we lost a few things. So there's some offsets here. Here's where the environment lives at offset 80,000. The first Linux blob lives at whatever the hell that is. I think that's 16 megabytes. And that's 16 plus 8, 24, right. There's a place that this free mem, which is, you see, used in these, so this is effectively a command that you can execute. You can update Linux, it'll TFTP a file to a particular address, and then it looks for flash, it erases the flash at some offset and then some size, and then it writes this file that it just downloaded with that length into that space. I don't use any of that stuff. But this is, again, so here's the size for Linux 1, Linux 2, and here's the size of U-boot, which starts at block 0 or address 0 in the flash.
I like the Nuki NV.
Yeah.
command.
Yeah. So I have not tried that. I have used RK on though, because it sets up, turns on the network, RTK network on, and then it pings the server IP. So in fact, we're about to do that. Let's see. I need to figure out what address I'm at here. So I created a TFTP server on my laptop, and it's at 10.11.149. So we can go set env. Can you see that? IP adder oh Jesus, what was it, 10.11 dot, oh Jesus, what did I just say?
Do you want IP header or you
One.
want server IP?
And we'll just call this 2 for now. Set env server IP 10, oops, 10.11, 11.1 dot, what was it again? 40, oh Jesus, 49. Oops, not 59, 49. Okay, then we can go run RTK on. And say, oh, I'm gonna use the Ethernet stuff. And oh, I can ping that host where the thing lives. Then the other thing I need to do is serve.tftp. And the thing I want is this thing right here, which I built back in August 2022, but still works. So we can copy that. And then I can say TFTP, and the boot turns out is unnecessary. Free mem, and then the file name. And boom, now I just loaded that blob, which is a kernel and init ramfs file system. So the idea is the kernel loads and says, and then, well, loads the whole thing into memory, and the kernel knows to look at a RAM disk in memory, and it'll have all the files that it needs to run. It's not touching the flash at all. So we can say boot m free mem, and then it starts booting. And now you've got a 2022 era OpenWrt image running on the device. And eventually you get you're gonna get a prompt, and that'll be
Is this
confused about.
MIPS?
Yes. So it's a 500 megahertz MIPS core, which isn't very fast in modern parlance, but it's fast enough for a switch. Because really the only thing that Linux is doing here is not flinging packets, it's just managing the web interface, if there is one, and then twiddling registers to make the switch fabric get configured correctly, and the PoE stuff. So we can go IPL just for fun, and you should see LAN 1, which is the only port I've got populated right now, is LAN 1 is up. So it's talking to me. Let's see. So anyway, at this stage, if all you want to do is run OpenWrt, you're kind of done, because you can use the standard. You're running OpenWrt. There's the standard OpenWrt upgrade utility is something called sysupgrade. Now you've got a device. It's you're not quite done, because this ancient device has a static IP, which is unfriendly, because it's on a different network than I'm on. DHCP, and then we can get rid of those things. And then we can say, etc. init.d network reload. And it kind of tears down all the network stuff and then brings it back up again. Or at least it did in that era. It might be more clever now.
Where do you have DHCP running? DHCP
So DHCP is
server.
running off this thing. And
okay.
both
Okay,
devices are
right,
plugged
right.
into it. Let's see. So now we've got 10.11.1.6. So now my switch has .6 on that network. And now I can just scopy files to it, or vice versa.
What are all those other hardware addresses for?
Oh, okay, so another thing, important thing to talk about. Who's heard of distributed switch architecture? Oh, wow. How, 2 people. Okay, awesome. So Linux, so long before distributed switch architecture came along, people on routers that had a bunch of ports on switches in OpenWrt land in particular, they just cobbled something together to be able to control the ports on this switch. Basically, there's a switch chip inside the board, and either inside the board or inside the SoC, and it needs to be configured somehow. So they were using this utility called swconfig, and that would allow you to add VLANs and stuff to the various ports. The Linux kernel community did not like that, and it seemed arbitrary and horrible. And so they decided that, hey, look, it's an RJ44 jack. It looks like a port. So we're just gonna create an abstraction layer that makes all the damn ports look like they're an Ethernet interface. So in this case, there are 10 ports on this, 8 RJ45s and 2 SFPs, and they just numbered them 1 to 10. So you notice this at ETH0. So the way these are actually wired inside is,
The network engineer is me going, it's a switch, there's no ports.
so there's like the CPU part, and it's got a little interfacey thing sticking off of it. And then there's the switch fabric thing. And basically the switch fabric, this is ETH0 in this case. And then these are the various LAN ports, you know, whatever, I'm not gonna draw them all, you know, 1 to 10.
We're off screen right now, so.
Oh, yeah, well, yeah, you people at home will have to figure it out on your own. So,
Wow, what wonderful
so what that,
drawing.
basically what that says is there's an Ethernet interface, it's ETH0, which is right there, and it's hiding, it's creating an abstraction layer. They got all these other ports, you can treat them just like a regular Ethernet. You can use IP, whatever, and configure it. In this case, they're all just bridged together. There's a whole other, oh my God, I could tell you about bridge VLANs too, but let's leave that for now, because we're having fun. So anyway, distributed switch architecture is just this kernel level thing that makes all the ports look like they're Ethernet interfaces, even though they're not. Did that answer your question?
Yeah,
Okay.
unfortunately.
Yeah. Okay, so now what I'm gonna do, how much time have we got? Rambling, slow. So what I was thinking about doing, I wanna show you guys Pulse View. Who's seen Pulse View? Has anybody seen Pulse View? You know what Pulse View is? Oh my God, really?
Really?
Okay, all right, well, we'll need to get to Pulse View then. I'm gonna do something kind of wacky, and that is I'm gonna put the vendor firmware back on this thing. So,
Sacrilege.
message.
In the wrong direction.
Don't break
You've
it.
So this is what I do to find how the damn grep 0x. So this looks a little bit different than it might otherwise. So I'm just running the kernel messages. I'm just looking for hex values. And it turns out by accident, it does a pretty good job of finding the partition table. So again, this is a 32 megabyte flash chip. U-boot lives in the first 8 64K blocks. There's a oh, less than that. No. Yeah, okay, right. There's one block of U-boot environment, U-boot environment, and there's another block of this, basically the thing we saw in PrintSys. And then there's these gigantic swaths of stuff that the vendor firmware uses to store its mutable information configuration stuff. So there's a who knows what a JFS2 file system is? Okay, it's just a flash. It's a file system that's adapted to the way NOR flash, maybe even other kinds of flash deals with itself. So
So JFFS, just a flash file system?
something like that. And it's the second one because the first one turns out sucked.
So
Jiffy flash
I just
files.
noticed that you're saying that the ENV2 is for sys.
Yes.
I'm not convinced that's correct because
Oh, it is.
when you type the
Yes.
print sys,
Yes.
it said it used 100 bytes out of 4K. And
Well,
those blocks are
I'm
64.
pretty sure that I've dumped these and I've done.
Okay,
X
okay,
number.
I'm just, they've allocated 64K there. And
Yes.
the command suggested that it's only 4K.
So it's possible I'm wrong, but I don't think I am.
One of them was 4K, one of them was 64.
But they're only, the reason it's a whole 64K block is just because that's like the erased block size or well,
4K.
some of the,
Depends
it's,
on the
64K is a faster erased block than the
Well, yeah,
4K.
we know.
We've
that.
encountered this.
We know this.
Yes. So they got, oh my God, there's
But-
32 megabytes. We don't need all of that. We're just gonna be,
Yeah, I
If
mean,
you-
I guess the other thing I could see is having an ENV environment for each firmware image. So,
let's see, 1, MTD1. So this is print or print ENV. You can see
right, there's baud rate.
all the stuff we looked at before, and then a bunch of zeros. And then if we look in MTD2, they're the things we saw. in
Okay,
Texas.
you win.
Oh.
Yeah, it's very misleading that or maybe they only, they disagree, right?
Yeah.
It thinks it's, part of the system thinks it's a 4K block and
Yeah.
but they've allocated 64K.
Maybe it's just erasing the 4K block when it's doing the update, but it's, as far as the partition table, it's all the same thing, or all just a giant thing. The JFS2 might be faster when they're dealing with 64K blocks,
Yeah.
and so they just it's aligned to match that. So you get firmware here, and then you get firmware 2. It turns out, because OpenWrt is on this, it looked and actually detected that there was a kernel at a particular offset 0 within firmware, and then there was a rootfs also within firmware, but at offset 80,000, whatever that is, 800,000? I don't know how you say that. How do you say that in hex? What do hex aligned nerds
8
call it?
meg.
Yeah. Oh, right, that's 8 meg, right, yeah. But that's 8 meg within firmware, which is at offset 16 meg. Is that right? Anyway, it doesn't matter. Moving on. There's rootfs, and then there's rootfs data. So the way OpenWrt does stuff, and it's kind of clever, they have a kernel, they have a squashfs, that is a immutable file system, and then the idea is that whatever is left over in the partition after the immutable part of the file system gets erased, formatted as a writable file system, and then that's an overlay FS on top of the unwritable file system. And that gives you this, you can recover to the read-only file system if you need to, just by deleting everything in, or reformatting, or whatever, this third little partition thing, and now you're back to the original, fresh out of the box, whatever that image was written in there as. So that's kind of a, it allows them to squish the big blob of stuff maximally, and yet still have the appearance of a writable file system. And it allows you to do a factory reset to whatever the hell you flashed by just erasing this block. So it's kind of cool. And in this case, again, at the 2022 era, there was still this dual boot phenomenon thing, where you have basically the equivalent of this. If I had tried to install OpenWrt firmware 2, you'd probably see another kernel, another rootfs, another rootfs underscore data. But
So would it be safe to say that the manufacturer's firmware is still on there, but you just have to uncover it?
it could be, but it
Okay.
isn't.
Oh.
at the moment.
Well, you
Not
didn't do
safe.
sysupgrade though, so
What's that?
you didn't run sysupgrade yet, so.
I have not.
Yeah. so
Uh,
it's still-
but, well,
I guess you did.
I
this
had done it
before.
before. This is like
Okay.
Julia Child, you know, when she whips the thing out of the thing. Only I'm not even that prepared, because then I would have put the vendor firmware on one of these, because you notice I've got 3 of them. I was thinking about doing that, and I said, no, I'm too lazy. Let me look back over here. Oh, here we go. Where did I, oh, I know. Push the, oops, not there, source, OpenWrt, build. So these, and unfortunately they're blue, so you can't see them very well. So when I build OpenWrt, every time unless I'm super into like a tight development cycle, when I build something that I flash on a thing that's gonna be there for a little while, when I do the build, I copy all the build artifacts and save them like forever. So if you look at some of these, well, these are like incremental dates when I built these things. So these were building firmwares for these GS that were deployed. That was actually, the Deuce thing is on my desk, basically. Ruby is at Goose Hollow. Fetch is Lucky Lab Southeast, blah, blah, blah. Those are all the GS 1900s. Oh, yeah, so, because I don't remember what the hell I typed the last time. Some of them are Zyxel and some of them are just GS, but they're the same. This is arbitrary strings. This is the old SVN equivalent number, release number, whatever, but they use Git. So there's this kind of release number, or revision number, I guess it is, and then the Git hash of the commit that was used of OpenWrt to build the firmware. So let's see, what is this device? Doesn't matter. I'm gonna push D again, and I'm back to, oops. Push D, serve. Okay, so I'm going to install this thing. And that is the last version of the vendor firmware. And then
Was that taken off a device or downloaded from?
that one was downloaded. The other thing I do, because I've got serial console on all these things usually, when I have a new device, especially one I've never used before, but even sometimes if it's just another device in a family that I've already dealt with, I dump it. And so I've got, turns out wireless routers are particularly sensitive about this because there'll be a partition that stores the calibration information for the radio. And that's a per device thing. And if you ever lose that by, you know, the chip going bad, which never happens, or stupidly flashing something over the thing, which also kind of never happens. But if you're nervous about that sort of thing, it's easy to do, and then you just keep a copy of it. You ever need it again, you can flash it back again.
Or the MAC addresses.
The MAC addresses, although the MAC addresses you
can-
can often recover
yeah,
because
yeah.
they'll be printed on the case and you can
Sure,
write that.
yeah.
Let's see. So, I don't know if this is gonna work. Can I ping Goldendale? Yes, I can, okay. Goldendale, colon, I'm gonna need to give my username here too. Serve, TFTP, that file name, and then right at the 10. Let me just look in here for a minute. Are people familiar with the DF command? I don't even know what the hell it means. But this is telling you tempfs, this is all RAM disk stuff. So there's basically root is mounted as a tempfs, the temp directory, or the temp whatever, and then dev are all tempfs.
Does it really have 128 meg?
Yeah, so, you know, memory's cheap, or it used
Well,
to
it
be.
was.
Yeah. Let's
I
see.
mean, why?
Careful what you wish for.
I'm surprised that it's
Oops.
that
More
big.
than my deck station.
Yeah. So there's the file I just S-copied, this whatever the hell Bix thing. Now, it turns out you can just, there's a, underneath sysfs, or sysupgrade, in the end, they're just running something called MTD, which is a utility for writing. Let me just make sure, demessage again, grep 0x. Firmware, so it's 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we want to write into MTD 5.
So why are you doing it this way? Because
As opposed to what?
sysupgrade.
Because
Well,
this
oh,
is not
it'll
a
complain about the
WRT
image.
file it'll complain about.
Yeah, it's wrong image. right? Yeah.
MTD and then write. Hang on, let's just look at help on this. So it has some options. Erase, you can do a bunch of stuff. None of that really matters. We're just gonna do the write, and by default, it'll erase the blocks right in front of the writes. So we can go MTD write. If you're flashing firmware with this, you could also give it the -R thing, which will reboot once the flash has happened. I'm not going to do that here because I'm running out of a RAM disk. Temp, what was it called? EWS something, and then dev MTD 5. And then you see the little thing going back between E and W.
To be clear, that's doing erase right.
Yes. Yeah, I don't even know, I mean, it's invisible, so you don't know how big the blocks are. It's doing it at a time. It's going pretty fast, and there's lots of them, so maybe there's smaller. There might be 4K blocks.
Yeah, I think it'd be faster for
Yeah, I know, but it's not faster. So
66. I'm guessing 64K block.
who knows? It's all invisible.
Yeah.
You can run an IOStat, but show.
What's that?
Run IOStat. Show you
Well,
the
you
process.
could, except we're
This is
waiting
a
for this
serious
to
terminal.
finish.
You only get one.
I mean, I can SSH into it too.
Right? Yeah, you're running screen, you just open up on
One screen in your screen.
Yeah. Okay, then we're done. I don't think we need, we'll just do this for fun. I don't think that has any effect whatsoever.
Yeah, you did 3 times.
Then we can go reboot. And now we're shutting down OpenWrt, and then we're gonna see U-boot there. And then it's gonna auto boot into I'm not interrupting it, so it's gonna boot into its thing. You notice it doesn't say anything about OpenWrt here.
2021.
No, image name is image.
Oh, yeah, with all the version numbering we saw before. So this is also kind of annoying because when it first boots, it has a default password, which is approximately as random as you might think it would be. It's password, admin password. But then it immediately asks you to set a new password. And at least some of the time, I come back to the same one that I've already set, and it doesn't remember. It doesn't accept password anymore, and it doesn't seem to respect the thing that you're pretty sure you typed last time. So the nice thing is it's got a nice reset switch. You just hold this reset switch for 10 seconds, and it'll go back to its, press any key to continue. Let's see what this does. It's asking for, username, admin. Let's try password. Ooh, hey, there we go.
First try.
So I'm gonna type in password.
I'm gonna slide in there just to make sure you're serious.
Okay, then we're logged in, and then we can go, let's see, unfortunately has a static IP. So now in here, help doesn't work, but question mark does. So you can say configure, and then you can say IP.
Oh, it's their interface, yeah.
Question mark, and then DHCP, and then it doesn't tell you, but it turns out magically it's turned on DHCP, and then you can say, oh boy.
Exit, right? This
Yeah,
is
that's
iOS,
and-
right?
and
Cisco.
exit works too.
All of these chintzy
Everyone
little
copies
things
that.
try to
And then
copy their,
show question mark,
UI,
IP.
uh,
Okay, and we're
command
back,
line
we're
UI.
back, we got the same lease that we had
Yeah.
before. Let's see, I think there's a thing that says save. And I think maybe that was why the password change I made before didn't work, because I hadn't persisted it. So now we can go to a, I don't know if that works, 10.11.1.6. Not secure. Hey, there we go.
But he's
Add
there.
in. And my super secret password.
Got it.
Let me in.
And now, the other feature of this switch is that it does EnGenius Wi-Fi controller silliness, which I give zero craps about. So I
EnGenius
don't,
doesn't-
that's why I don't use their vendor software, but if you click on Mr. Switch here, it will, can you read any of that? That's
No.
kind of maybe tiny. It tells you what, hey, we just flashed that firmware. We can go down here to PoE and PoE port settings. Oh, so I brought one dummy load. So we can plug this into one of the ports. And you will notice Mr. Light turns on.
That's magic.
And, does it actually, I need to reload. Oops, back to switch, PoE, port settings. I don't know why they did not, there you go. Woo-hoo! We're delivering power. 53.9 volts.
See, that's why the pins can be so small, 37 milliamps.
It turns out. but
And
I
when
mean,
you're
you know,
running at voltages
yeah,
like
yeah,
that.
yeah. Yeah, that's not very, yeah.
So I don't think it'll be 2 watts when the finish is booting.
It seems,
No,
this
no.
particular thing, which might be, no, this is not, this is a TP link, but it's like the thing you like. I have some of those somewhere, but somehow I just pulled this,
Not
I think
nearly
I found
heavy
this in a
enough.
dark pocket.
Yeah, not nearly heavy.
It's got some heft to it, yeah, but a lot of plastic too.
Those others are
Can you not-
weapons.
Could you not get this information from OpenWrt?
You can. There is something that I discovered when I was fishing around in here that you can't get, and that is, there's some nice diagnostic stuff. Like, for example, it will tell, vendor firmware will tell you how long the Ethernet runs are, even by pair, which is, if there's a fault, you know, it's kind of handy thing to know. So it's doing some sort of either real or fake time, whatever.
So you can make
TDR.
flex
That's,
telemetry.
that's this thing.
Can E2 do that? I don't know.
I know
So
so
that-
much tracing
yeah.
for
Well,
people.
so, does Lucy have any support for the PoE stuff?
Oh, it's supposed to or it will. And there- I
But of
think
course,
it
you
does.
never use it.
I don't use Lucy, but yeah, there's a command line interface with the
To
new
be
stuff as
clear,
well.
Lucy is the web UI for OpenWrt.
Yes, LUCI,
And then UCI is the command line interface.
yes.
For.
UCI stands for Uniform Configuration Interface. And it was because all open source software invents their own configuration language. The people who were writing the web interface did not want to have to build that into everything. So what they did is they created an abstraction layer that put all the configuration information in this standard hierarchical structure, and then provided the package, the software package, then provides a mechanism to take that information in the UCI format and convert it into the package native dialect or whatever, and then everything just works.
Yeah, and when you change from static to DHCP, you were editing a
I was
UCI
editing, yeah, I
config
was not
file.
even using UCI, I was
But you were,
using,
yeah.
I was using the VI interface. Okay, so that's all, that's just to show you, let me see, monitoring? No, I don't know where the hell it is, not management, L2 feature?
What are you looking for?
I'm looking for this thing that will.
Diagnostic.
tell you what the
Wire.
cable is.
I would say diagnostics if I were.
Oh,
trying to-
diagnostics, thank you, yes, there it is. Cable diagnostics.
There
So
we go.
this is clearly built into the chip somewhere, but it's not been, oh, port 1. Okay, we're plugged into that. So we can do a test. Ooh, hey, look,
13
it is
meters.
not 13.
Maybe
It's 10
13 centimeters.
Well, it says meter right there.
Yeah, it does say meter.
It's effectively
And let's see, oh, let's try port
Minimum test distance.
5
Yeah.
I don't think it was,
test. That's a little bit better, but that's also not 3 meters. So
What port was it in the POE section? It showed which port it was, right?
5, yeah.
5, okay.
Yeah. Okay, now,
So like
while
a-
this
yeah,
is running,
make stuff up.
so, oh yeah, this is gonna work. Okay,
So
so.
length is only for reference. It may be inaccurate when OK is indicated. Gotta read the disclaimer.
What a disclaimer.
Never mind the man
Okay,
down.
so who has seen one of these things?
Something similar.
Yeah, so these are a clone of a Cellulogic logic analyzer. Cellulogic sells these for about $150, $200 or something like that for the 8-port thing. There's just a little chip in there, and somebody popped open the Cellular and said, hey, there's just a little chip in there, we can buy the chip. And
There's a weird one like that too. It's like special that they use for their boards.
who does?
Intel.
Yeah, yeah. Anyway, there are a bunch of clones of these things, and they're super cheap. Like I paid on the order of $10 for this, and I bought like 3 more at the same time. And it's an 8-channel, 24 megahertz logic analyzer. It's supported by a cool open source software thing called, the larger project's called SIGROC, but there's this a subset of this thing called PulseView, which I'm about to demonstrate.
What chip is in there?
It has a bunch of letters. When I start up PulseView, it'll tell us.
Okay.
Okay, so I need to be a little careful here. Oh, Jesus, wait a minute. What's this? Okay. Please go, and I don't know which is which, but it doesn't matter.
Can you scoot the
Maybe
board
I'm
over a
gonna-
little bit?
I'm gonna turn, oh, yeah, sorry.
Thank you.
The SoC to the ST microcontroller, that bus.
That's ground, so I kind of toned these out by scraping across the poor microcontroller and then looking up in the data sheet to see what they probably were. And then there's going to be a cable that has, right here. Okay, let me go back over here. Oh, yeah, okay, that's not doing anything at the moment.
Oh, when he says tone it out, that generally means continuity
Continuity
testing
tester,
with
right,
multimeter.
right. It makes a beep noise when there's low resistance. So, yeah, so, basically you put one end of the voltmeter thingy on one of the pins, and then you just kind of scrape down the things until it beeps, and then you go back very carefully with your aging vision and try to count how many pins down the thing is, and then anyway. eventually
power is
convince
off.
yourself you got the right. In fact, here, I'll show you these are my notes. No, that's not the right one. Oh yeah, here we go. I don't know if you can see that. That's the wrong one. This is the right one.
Third time's a charm.
So there's the 4 pins, and there's the 5 pins. And VSS is ground, and then that one is PB10, and then I decoded that. Oh, it says, oh, UART. Oh my God, that's probably it then. Right, because I2C turns out is not on any of those pins. Those PAs 13 and 14 are software, single wire debug, I/O, and clock. So, it took 10 minutes or something. Okay, so now we're clicked on there. Let me go source, pulse view. So you can build this yourself. You can oftentimes download the project from your standard distribution packages.
Can you show us your screen?
What's that? Oh, sorry. And it's tiny too. Let me make that bigger. Or, turns out PulseView SIGROC project provides these app images, which encapsulated all the dependencies into one big binary blob thing. So you're running a giant binary blob thing, but after you beat your head into the wall for a while, you say, oh, this is path of least resistance. I'm okay with this. So then we can pulse view, and we're gonna hope. Oh yeah. So it says Saley Logic there, but we can connect to device. Here we go. FX2 LAFW, whatever the hell that is.
X2 based logic, awesome.
Anyway, that's what the Saley uses. And this supports all of these other things too, which you could probably barely see. Anyway, all of those things, Beagle Logic, whatever the hell that is. But I've got one of those, and so that's what we're going to use now.
Well, you know what, you've got a Beagle Logic, right?
What's
That's
that?
it. Beagle Logic's got to be a Beagle board just using the I/O as capture.
Could be. Let's see. So I'm going to say I'm using D0 and D1, so I can make that go away. I can make that go away. I can make that go away. I can make that go away, and that one go away. Probably a faster way to do that. 1 million sample. I want faster than 20 kilohertz. Let's say 1 megahertz, which is overkill, and more samples than that. Let's say 500 million. How about that? And then you go run, and you can see actually there's a line extending. There's been smarter ways of doing this, but then we turn on the power, something happens.
Oh, I moved.
Eventually, it's going to boot up and it's going to start honking. Oops, I can scroll. There we go.
Which lines did
Ooh,
you
ooh,
probe?
ooh, see there? Those are little downy lines. Okay, ooh, more downy lines. It's talking more and more. Okay, so.
Don't you have a scope that will just decode serial data for you?
No. Well, maybe. But then I'm dealing with the stupid scope software. Well, hang on.
This was $10.
$10. and free
He has a
software.
scope sitting on his desk.
I do.
though.
In fact, it's like at least 16 channels, maybe
Yeah.
32.
Jeez.
And I've never even tried it,
I'll
actually.
take it.
Let's see, all decoders. Oops.
This is the budget version.
This is, I would have, in fact, I also have this kind of super fancy thing called Dream Logic whatever the hell, cost $400. It has 32 channels with nice differential probe wires.
You have like a little spider board for
I
it?
just got it out of the box, but I don't want to show that off because that's like $400. This is not accessible. $10 is accessible. Where's UART on here?
JTAG.
The software.
There is a
is
search
actually
There it
really
is.
nice.
UART.
Actually dump all of the bits out.
No channels, that's fine. And then you go over here and you say RX is D0 and TX is D1. And you say the bond is 1900. Okay, now I'm gonna use my mouse.
Oh, that's it, going through the data decode.
So if you scroll way, way in, oh my God, there they are. So, now I forgot, oh yeah, okay. So D1, turns out, is the commands being sent by the SOC, and the D0, or whatever the hell this one up here is the reply. So I'm not gonna like waste your time and explain all the different protocols. Oops. Is that my mouse? No. Can you see that? What's that say? Oop. It's slightly bigger. So again, oh, it's even worse. So opcode is 2B. This is just the frame number, and it wraps when it gets to 255. And then that's the payload, whatever the hell that is. So it does all this kind of fancy decoding for you, and one of the things at the beginning, this is kind of non sequitur, so it'll be. So it turns out, how come that?
Visual view of it is awful.
Yeah, it's being obnoxious. I can make this go away. Okay, so it turns out this particular one, 1D, and again, this is frame 8. It only uses 2 bytes out of the payload, all the rest of them are Fs, and then this is the checksum. This is saying LAN port 4 maps to the PSE channel 7. So this is obnoxious. I have 3 of these version 1 EnGenius ports. They're not all the same. They actually made multiple revisions of version 1.0. And there's no way to tell
It's
externally.
genius.
What's that?
It's genius.
EnGenius, yeah. So what the vendor firmware does, this is gonna be even more annoying, but let me go back.
How about a list view with
The very
timestamps?
beginning. It turns out you can export this as text files, and then you can do a bunch of, makes it a lot easier to read. This 17, that does a thing that I discovered that turns out is super important, and the new kernel driver didn't do. This opcode 20 is basically a get system information. It's asking the PSE or the microcontroller how everything's wired. It turns out that these 2 bytes tell you what microcontroller you're talking to. Some other bytes, which is not that one, might be that one. It tells you what the PSEs are. And something else tells you how many there are. It doesn't matter. Anyway, the vendor firmware gets that information, and it comes up with this port mapping business. And then it sends those 1D commands to set up the microcontroller to map them correctly, so that when you plug in to the port 4 or 5 or whatever, it'll say, oh yeah, you're in LAN port 5, and also the PoE is on LAN port 5. But if that's not sent, then total bedlam and confusion happens, and you get a link on one port, but the PoE is showing up on another port. So this is another, I had a patch actually that I sent to OpenWrt saying, hey, I fixed it for version 1 because they didn't have, the mapping turns out was wrong for version 1. I had version 3 before and it was right for version 3. Version 3 is just linear, you know, 1 to 1 to 1, it's just right up the scale. I thought, well, what the hell's going on with version 1 now? Because they're all jumbled, they're like swapped in each set of 4. So I thought, I can fix that, and I changed it, and I sent a patch, and then, you know, like, I'm getting Claude AI reviewed, you know, with all this super annoying, oh, you didn't capitalize everything correctly, in a commit message, not even something that's shown. I'd say, I'm not fixing that. You can fix it if you want to. And then I ordered one of these. I ordered 2 of these $30 things with no power supply off eBay. The first one shows up. I pop it open. I said, in fact, this is when was asking Galen, how do you dump the firmware off the STM32s? Because they're behaving differently, and it's the same hardware revision. It must be the same, I thought to myself. And it turns out it wasn't the thing. And like I was talking to the upstream guy about how to fix the port mapping. He's like super excited about getting that correct. And then I said, oh, by the way, the other version 1 is different. And because it's statically configured in the device tree, you either need the driver to be smart enough to do what the vendor thing is doing, which is querying what the microcontroller and the PSEs are, and then assuming that mapping is consistent with the way they're organized, or you need to do something, or you need to split out those 2 variants, the ones with the STM32 microcontroller versus the Nuvoton microcontroller, which may be the distinction, I don't know. Or you need to create a user space interface that you can post-boot, you can just fix it, which is kind of the way the Realtek PoE thing worked. So anyway, that's what's going on. I just showed you Pulse View. It's super handy. Let me do one more thing. I can show you how you export. So can you read that, or is that too tiny? It's probably, I don't know if I can even change the size of this. It says export all annotations for this row. I don't even know what row I'm on. So if we say export all annotations, and you give it a file name, you say /temp test log. Well, it's text. Save. I'll probably get 2 texts. Then I can go over here. Oops. Oh, that's Pulse View again. There we go. Control C. Here's my cheat sheet. Let's just look at what that test. So this is giving, these are basically the sample number, starting there and ending here, and it's saying, oh yeah, there was a bit, part of the serial bit, it was a 0 there between those times. Okay, I don't care about the bits, but let's see, where's my notes again? So if we just get rid of all the lines with bits, and then we'll change the file name. Oops. Yeah. Test. And then pipe that into less. What did I do there? Did I sort? Yeah, okay. So it should be sorting by time. So also kind of hard to read. You see the TX is flipping to RX, so it sent all that stuff, and then now it's receiving more bytes. And then I have another, let's see, what did I I'm gonna pipe this into, oops, test data context, and then I can do this. So this is just, shenanigans. Oops.
That's testing.
Yeah, thank you. Decode. Is that what I called it before? Yeah. No. No, where'd it go? Where's my notes? Oh, there we go, okay. Hang on.
Just pipeline them all together.
I should. But it's kind of too late now. Okay, then we'll look at that one. Okay, now it's chunked up, at least vertically, it's slightly easier to read, but then my last line, I turn it all sideways. Let's see. I think that's right. Okay, right. So ignore the 09, I don't know what the hell that is. 17 is turning on something called power management mode. That was required for version 1. It's not required for version 3. So that's another patch or pull request that's waiting to get merged. Then there's this 20 is the get system information, and then it says, oh crap, well, and then this 2, I don't even know what that is. And then there's this sequence of 1Ds, basically one for each port, transmit and receive. Receive is basically just said it didn't have an error, and then a bunch of other commands. So that's what the vendor firmware is doing. I needed to do that in order to figure out what the hell OpenWrt was not doing correctly, and I didn't even spot it. I posted this on in the forum that's working on this, and somebody said, oh yeah, that's 17, that's probably important. And so I injected that command, and it worked. And so that's another pull request that's waiting to be merged. So there's the last thing. There's a third pull request, and this is somewhat contentious. We were talking about the partition table, and I'm almost done for everybody. There's the 32 mega flash. And 4 years ago, actually, 2 days after I built the init-ramfs thing that I TFTP'd, one of the people who were working on these switches said, we're running out of space. There's the 8 meg, but almost all of it was being used by the kernel and the squash FS. It was like, maybe 2 blocks left for the writable file system, which is like cutting it real close because you need to like completely erase one of them to write all the files. Anyway, it's a problem. And he said, oh my God, the first JFFS CFG partition that we looked at earlier, that's like almost 16 mega flash. I mean, there's a bunch of flash there. I'm just gonna write the writable file system. I'm gonna remap that to be rootfs data, and it'll dump it in this thing that's effectively not really used for OpenWrt. And that sounded really good, but apparently no one uses this device, because it turns out when you do a sys upgrade, I'm gonna go into the weeds a little bit. The way sys upgrades work is you get this firmware blob, and it's embedded, you know, there's a kernel, there's a squash FS, and there's some metadata on the end. If you do not change your configuration, like when you do the sys upgrade, by default, it'll try to save your old files and move those, not all files, but like ones that are deemed useful in your configuration typically, but some other files as well, you know, like a host key and a bunch of other files. You can register which files you think are important that ought to persist from one installation through a sys upgrade. What the normal way of doing a sys upgrade is that it takes those files and it constructs, while the old system is still working, it just puts them in a tarball. So the way a normal sys upgrade works is it knows what partition this image thing's going into, and then there's some special stuff on the end that says dead code or something, so it knows where the end of it is. What it does, it takes that tarball and it just writes the tarball on the end. So now you're booting up the next time. You know, the sys upgrade finishes, it automatically reboots. It boots the kernel, it boots the squash FS. It sees, oh my God, there's a tarball there. Well, so I'm going to grab the tarball and I'm going to put it in RAM disk while it's booting. And then it's going to take the tail of that and basically format it as a JFFS2. And then when that's done, it takes the tarball and it unpacks it into this writable file system. Well, when Mr. Smart Person moves this thing to this other file, this other partition, none of that happens anymore. Instead, well, okay, I'm repurposing this little block here. Now this is this, what do they call it? JFFS2 CFG. So that's, he called it root FS underscore data, and the kernel sees the first one of those and says, we're going to use that one. But it was never erased. So the saved configuration might be over here, but I don't use that, so I don't care about that. But this thing was never erased. So when it boots up again, all those files are still there. So I said, hey, I didn't do what I expected it to do. And he said, it must be your problem. And I said, look, I changed the host name, I changed this other thing, I rebooted, or then I did a new sys upgrade, and all those files were still there. They shouldn't have been there. In the sys upgrade, I put the -n, which says, do not preserve your configuration. Throw all that stuff away. And so that thing's like not being initialized. Problem, you know, that's not the way it's supposed to work. So we're having there's a little contention over what the proper solution to this is. The Zyxel GS1900 devices all said, no one's using this dual booting thing. Let's just use that firmware too. It's contiguous with this. So now we'll just make it 16 megabytes instead of 8 and just use that. And he said, but there's this like almost 16 meg like in this other partition. We're wasting space. He said, it's a switch. No one puts it, no one's storing it either. 16 meg is fine. So now we're having kind of an argument about, he wants to instead just change the sys upgrade scripts to do this funky thing that no one has ever had to do for anything else. And I'm thinking, you can do that if you want, but I have my patch and I'm going to keep using my patch. You can use it if you want, because it's in my pull request, but you're not going to railroad me into doing the thing you want me to do. So anyway, that's kind of the end of my demo presentation. Does anybody have any questions?
Sir,
yes?
when can I SSH to your switch? Which shell am I going to get?
It's called Ash, so it's
Not Bash.
it's not Bash. If you wanted, if the thing was big enough, you could build Bash if you want. But it's a you know, what is that, born-style shell, it's just stripped down. It
And,
is.
and you're gonna get the typical busy box stuff.
Yeah. And but again, OpenWrt has huge, you know, it's almost like a real Linux distribution. There were, for quite a while, there were like, you could get X Windows running on most of this stuff. You know, if you had some video hardware, which people tended not to have. But you know, you might have this thing has a USB port. This thing is actually pretty beefy, CPU wise.
Well,
Your switch is not.
You can run it on x86 if you are
Yes.
so inclined.
Yeah, a lot of people actually use it in server applications as kind of a, like a VM kind of router on their server. I've never done that, but some people do that. Yes.
Is OpenWrt overkill for these switches?
What do you mean by overkill?
It can do so much.
Yes.
Would you
So-
also use it as a router?
Oh yeah, absolutely. This is running OpenWrt. Everything's running OpenWrt. The cool thing about OpenWrt is you got a consistent interface. You're not having to screw around with some vendor's invented, web interface and trying to hack that to do what you want. Or it turns out the vendor firmware on this, you can't turn on SSH, but you're going to get the same crazy shell thing that you saw on the serial console. So I want like a real Linux shell, and I want to be able to modify files, and I want to be able to copy them somewhere else and back them up and do all sorts of kind of the crazy things you might want to do. So to me, it's just a consistent interface thing. So the one thing, I'll let it go. But there's I think I mentioned Realtek PoE, the user space interface for the PoE stuff, uses this UBus API to control ports. The kernel interface uses ethtool instead. And so you say ethtool dash J is an option to get JSON formatted. And then dash, which you can take or leave. Dash show PSE. And again, I never got to this. PSE stands for power sourcing equipment, which is the chip. Let's go back to DocuCam. Are these chips, these two chips. That's what they're called, power sourcing equipment, the thing that provides the power to the ports. You use ethtool, you say show PSE splat, and it'll show you all the interfaces, all essentially the ports that the PSE chip knows about. Let's see. And then there's a crazy ass, you say set PSE, but then there's this horrific long string, P33, some out of a standards document somewhere. I don't remember even what the hell it is. I need to look it up on the PTP wiki somewhere as a description how to type the command to disable the port and then turn it back on again. But it's just a matter of set PSE, this weird ass string, and then enable, disable. Or the show PSE splat or show PSE port, and it'll show you just that port and its status, how much power, its voltage and current and power and things like that.
So are they certain that the STM firmware isn't hiding someplace in that 128 or whatever? No, you said 32 megabyte.
I'm not sure what that chip is.
But as far as you know, the firmware for the microcontroller cannot be updated.
I have not looked. I was about to, when I thought these were all the same and they were behaving differently, I thought, what the hell's going on? And I was going to try dumping the firmware out of those, and then I realized, oh no, it's much simpler than that. They just use different hardware. Yes.
Stuff like HTTP, spanning tree protocol.
Yes.
What does that live? Does it live in SOC or somewhere else?
That's
What's the question?
the chip, the spanning tree protocol. So there's switch infrastructure in the SoC, so it's built in the silicon. It's certainly in the package. And the CPU inside the SoC talks to that switch, and there are registers to configure it, and that's where spanning tree protocol would be handled.
And
I'm
you
pretty
have
sure it's-
something in OpenWrt, you can query that.
Yes.
Clear it or whatever.
So, right, so historically, it was something called BRCTL, it was called Bridge Utils, which is, turns out, the responsibility of a guy, former speaker here a few months ago. He's basically, that's deprecated, there's a new thing, it's part of IP Route 2 called Bridge, and it has basically the same functionality, and you can twiddle the various bits to get the bridge to do the thing that you want. I would turn on spanning tree protocol. There's a rapid spanning tree protocol as well, that's just converges faster or something. There's all the VLAN stuff, which we're already at 9:15, we're not gonna go into. But yeah, there's many. That all normal kind of switchy stuff is built into that, and there's interfaces that are exposed to be able to control it.
Two questions.
Yes.
Does the chip, does it have any NATing stuff built into it? Like, so for, usually like a router would have NAT
So
stuff.
you're running Linux.
Yeah.
And you got this.
Yeah.
And so if you were dumb,
Yeah.
you
do it
could
in software.
assign one of these ports. I mean, this is how routers work. Oftentimes, you have a same basic architecture.
Yeah.
There's oftentimes there's one Ethernet interface here, and then there's some switch again embedded in the SoC. You assign one of the ports to be the WAN interface, and then the other ports are on the LAN interface, and you're routing through the CPU.
Yeah.
So you can do that,
Yeah.
but the CPU and that is just too slow to sling packets fast. So
Right,
you're
but-
limited to like 10 megabits or something.
Yeah, and that's why, and then that's why like the routers have some sort of physical, like a hardware.
They
something
might
to
have,
help.
they'll either have a much faster CPU that
Yeah.
can fling packets faster, or there's some
Yeah.
software offloading thing
Software
even within the,
offloading, yeah. But I'm assuming this one doesn't have that.
no.
Yeah.
And there's, Ubiquiti made a device for a while called an ERX, and that used an MT, mumble numbers 21, 9721 or something like that. That was fast enough to route, and you could, in fact, we used a bunch of those for 4 gateway routers. And they had hardware offloading as well, so you could nap through them very fast, I mean, almost a gigabit. These are not the same as that, and they're just, if you're just gonna, stuff your fist into a cheese grater.
It's right for DSL.
Yeah, mine are DSL.
So that, you don't wanna do that.
Yeah. And then my other question was, do you know OpenWrt supports these things to do the controller side? So OpenWrt with.
Yeah, I don't know, because I've never really, I've looked at their webpage and I've read until my eyes crossed a little bit and then I stopped reading. So I don't know, but OpenWrt was built on OpenWrt, so
Yeah.
I would imagine it would still work. Yes?
Would that new OpenWrt 1 be able to do the natting, do you think? Or is that,
So,
have you played with that one?
OpenWrt 1 is kind of cool, but it's kind of just a development board. I would not use that as a real router. You can, but this can do the same, it has basically the same CPU, SoC in it, same class anyway. So you can just use that. The OpenWrt 1 has, you can put like NVMe, I don't know what, how you doing that on a gateway router for? Or Wi-Fi, there's
Why
no
do you have
place.
128 megabytes
Yeah,
in a
exactly.
switch?
It was the cheapest chip they could get, probably. So, yeah, I have one. I mean, I bought it kind of to support the project, but I've had it out of the box like twice. and these are just way more practical. There's only 2 ports on one of those OpenWrt ones. So, you know, it would work as a gateway, but I think one of them's slower than the other one. I mean, one of them would only be 100 megabits.
A 2.5 and a 1 gig.
Oh, that was it, yeah, they're different speeds.
That's weird. So the
Well,
WAN
and I
is
have to
2.5.
say, this
and
does
then,
not, this one, despite me liking it, this,
It's a
on
Wi-Fi, so-
that one, this port is 2.5 gigahertz or gigabits, but all the external ports are 1 gigabit. So the CPU can talk to the switch fast, but nothing external can talk faster than 1 gig. I have a bunch of 10 gig hardware in my house, but none of it's actually plugged into anything because I don't have a 10 gig switch. And I mean, I could go point to point between boxes, but like, why? So there's another cool thing that I've been telling a few people about. Quantum Fiber has been distributing a thing called a W1700K. They're super, unless Quantum gives you one when you sign up for your service, it's hard to get a hold of one. Actually though, if you don't mind paying more than I paid, which,
eBay
you know,
has it for
Rando
like
might be
$60.
perfectly willing to do. It's like $80, you can find them on Amazon for, you know, new in the box.
eBay has it for like $60-ish.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I got all mine for like 20, and so I
That's
can't
absurd.
bring myself to pay more than 25 or
Yeah.
30.
Why would I want one of these?
Oh, so the cool thing is there's 2 10 gig Ethernet ports on it, and 2 more 1 gigabit ports on it, and it has Wi-Fi 7.
And, keep going.
And it can
Because
run
I have one in my
OpenWrt.
house right
Oh,
now,
you
and
do?
it drives me freaking crazy.
Oh, it does?
because the interface to it is horrible.
Oh, yeah, well,
It can run
Can it run
OpenWrt.
W?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah,
That was what I was waiting for.
otherwise I wouldn't have bought 5 of them.
Is this like the vendor router you get with the?
Yeah.
It's
Yes.
Quantum Fiber, yeah, so.
It's a little unclear
That's
who they
CenturyLink
think it
Quantum.
belongs to.
Who
AT&T.
They haven't been super clear about that.
AT&T
So
Quantum.
if
No,
you
it's
cancel
already
service,
on
there's a
that.
theory they
Yes.
might ask for it back.
They
But it
changed
turns
the
out
emails.
lots of people
Oh, yeah,
didn't read any of
And
that,
that
and they're
AT&T
selling them on
I forgot about
various, you know, third party.
But anyway, the internet rumor mill is that AT&T is going to
Replace it all anyway.
Yeah. They're going to dump that to go to the rest of their AT&T fiber hardware.
Yeah.
So theoretically, a lot of these might come on the market.
They're sweet, it's sweet hardware,
Yeah.
They look good.
but it's hard to find.
What's the part number again?
It's a W1700K.
They're on eBay right now for like $60.
I have not seen it on eBay. Or they're highly variable on eBay.
Yeah.
In when I've looked for them.
Oh yeah, I mean, I literally saw it this morning, that's why. Yeah.
Again, this grant we were gonna
Yeah.
look for, do not buy them on eBay if they do not come with a power supply. Because the power supply is 12 volts and 5 amps. And there's no PoE, doesn't work on PoE.
Yeah.
So if you don't get the power supply, you need to go find a 5 amp, 12 volt power supply.
Good luck.
I mean,
You can get them, but they're
it's just
expensive.
61. I mean,
They might be
the other thing
50
is,
bucks.
I would be using them as AP,
Yeah.
and I would be doing a PoE dongle off of that anyway, so.
I tried that
Oh,
with a 2 amp, 12 volt splitter.
yeah.
And I could make them reboot really easily by trying to transfer any data to them.
I'll start dumping them.
They have a
We
fan
need
too for that
the
matter.
Michael
Okay,
Dexter,
any
the
more
Michael
questions?
Dexter
Yeah.
signal.
Any more questions?
So, the 1701?
I have not tried that. It doesn't have the cool 10 gigabit Ethernet interface. It's like 2.5.
Yeah.
only.
So.
It's theoretically, I think the SoC is the same,
Okay.
but I don't know anybody who's actually hacked on those, OpenWrt wise.
I have one, my,
Yes,
the install, and I never
because
installed it.
they want to do their
Their
little
little
mesh
standard
thing.
pod,
Yeah.
If this is part of a fiber thing, how do they terminate the fiber? If it's
Oh,
on
there's
the
a
edge?
different,
box.
there's
There's
a
a NID.
smart NID, whatever the hell that is.
Yeah.
I see. That's like the way it should be done.
You still need the NID.
They're crazy. I mean, CenturyLink was distributing stuff with fiber interfaces on it, but they were dead. And so you'd have your ONT, and then you'd have Ethernet that went from the ONT which terminated the fiber to a device that had a fiber interface on it, like
It
those
was so
little cone
stupid.
things.
I worked for CenturyLink for
Yeah.
a while, and I had to deal with that shit all the
Yes.
time on the help desk.
Oh, sweet. So you work, can I ask you questions about what the hell's going on inside?
I probably don't remember it because it was years ago.
So the weirdest thing to me is that Quantum Fiber and CenturyLink think that they're different entities. At one time, there were two CenturyLinks within CenturyLink.
Do you know why? Because we were literally divided down the center.
Yes.
Quantum was like one thing, and
Yes.
you couldn't work on anything quantum
Yes.
if you were a CenturyLink help desk
Why?
guy. And you had to be specially trained to work on the quantum stuff
Can
because
you tell me why?
the why was who gives a fuck or who knows why. Like they
So,
really had no reason
I
other than you had to be a
assumed-
special guy and
I
you were promoted
assumed
that area.
that it was some non-union operation inside an
We were
anomaly.
in the same building. We were in the
supposedly-
Yeah,
same
but
building.
were you in a union?
Separation between copper
No.
and fiber.
Yeah,
We
you
were-
see, I
that way.
think that might be the reason.
I think
They
whatever
wanted to
they
be able to
bought,
shed all the union jobs and keep the non-union
No, they
operation.
wanted to get us, they wanted a brand dedicated to fiber. with a
my
certain
sister-
one.
I got my
That's what
sister-
they were trying to do.
they were
signed up.
essentially promoting people who were like their top tier
Yeah.
into their quantum stuff, and they wanted to have their like
So
higher
this is even
volume.
before they called it quantum. I got my sister to finally ditch DSL. This was early in the pandemic. And I said, you know, CenturyLink, there's the website. Just go to the website, click subscribe. So when she went to subscribe, or when she went to turn off the DSL, she got on the phone with a CenturyLink person. And the CenturyLink person she got on the phone begged her
Yeah.
to cancel the orders she placed on the website so that CenturyLink could provide her fiber. When they had the same name, and I'm
Oh,
going,
God.
she's saying, like, this makes no sense. Can you make this make sense? And they, no, I can't. But you're a cherished customer. We want to keep you as a customer. Please cancel this
So
other thing.
every few weeks, so I have the service.
Yeah.
Every few weeks, they'll shift you around net-wise. It's almost like they've got large blocks of
Yes.
net blocks, and then they will just totally throw you in a different
Are you
one.
in PPPoE or?
No, it's Bridge.
Yes.
But it's Quest.net for
Yeah.
reverse DNS.
Oh, yeah.
Well, and that's where some of the spawns from was back when Quest was around. Because when
Yeah.
Quest was around, they merged and there was some weird entity thing, and then Quantum spun out of it. And so like Quantum stayed in its own little pocket for a long time, and nobody could touch it.
But you look up the AS numbers of the blocks, and it's like there are all these different.
Yeah, my PPP, I got fiber, CenturyLink fiber back in 2015.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, well, it works. They were billing me in a weird, very, you know, we're the creative class here in Portland, so they could make up all sorts of stuff. And they did.
Yes.
But the credentials, the PPPoE credentials, which I still have, say Quest right in it. I have an Quest email address.
Yep.
And, you know, as far as the state regulatory structure goes, they're still Quest.
Yeah.
They're just, you know, they're owned by CenturyLink. So it's bizarre.
Well, so when they started rolling out quantum, I was in an apartment complex that had a CenturyLink connection. And suddenly we get an email from the management saying they're switching to fiber. Yay, but faster speeds for everybody, right? So, but I had a CenturyLink box and an account with them to make sure I could get onto the ISP, right? And then suddenly one day, I start getting emails from Quantum Fiber, who I had no business with, no idea who these people were,
Yeah.
with, here's your account, please go here to sign up and get it all going, and you have to do this by this date. It looked like a cyber attack. It looked like a phishing thing where they're
Yeah.
being urgent, you have to do it by this time, you have business with us, and I'm like, I have never heard of you before. They passed my credentials on to their CenturyLink business unit and didn't really tell anyone they were doing that. So I'm like, who are these
So
people?
when I started out, like the first 2 weeks or 3 weeks or something, my IP address was changing every 6 hours.
What?
And I think the model I came up with, and this was never confirmed, but I assumed every time they signed up a new customer, they were putting the credentials into the system and they were bouncing the PPP database or whatever server, and that was just dropping everybody and bringing it back up
Their
again.
systems were
Oh,
terrible
very
because like we
privileged
had
talk. I
like
still have DSL.
when I first joined the company as a contractor, they hired 30 people for our training class, and then by the end of the first week we were down to 15. They didn't care about what you knew; they cared about a body in the seat, and I
Yeah.
don't think I don't think the salespeople were much better. I don't think they understood what a difference between DSL and fiber was.
Yeah.
You know,
I,
it was bad.
I just went through this process because my father-in-law had CenturyLink with an old, you know, like a, what was it, a C2100 that can,
Yeah.
you know, the black box. And that device was then essentially failing, and I'm like, hey, listen, we should just switch over to Quantum. It's like they're doing that whole $45 a month for
Yes.
gigabit and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, all right, let's switch it up. And it was, I mean, mostly smooth. They did like we called into CenturyLink and we had to cancel, he still had a landline. And so we had to first cancel the landline, otherwise Quantum won't pick it up. So we had to call CenturyLink and cancel the landline, and then we just went through the Quantum's online mechanism. And the only weird thing was, I mean, obviously they clearly do talk to each other because CenturyLink was like, hey, we're canceling your service at this date.
Yeah.
The date of the install. So come 9
Yeah.
a.m. or 8 a.m. or
You
whatever.
have a little short outage.
It's
Yeah.
canceled.
Yeah.
But of course the installation isn't until like 2 p.m. or whatever, so like.
At least installation came the same day.
And I've been working
Thanks,
since
right,
like
thankfully.
2013,
Yeah.
2014 probably. So it's definitely been a while since
Yeah.
I've,
I could use the same box, they just moved
but it's been a while.
Yeah.
I'm using the